So to check our homework, and guys, so real quick obviously we have Discovery Days coming up, but that's not that shouldn't really just be your only motivator. Obviously we have the canteen coming up, but that shouldn't be, you should be self-motivated to do what you are supposed to do, because that's called growing up and being responsible. You've had 8-1-1 since last week. You've had 8-1-2 since Tuesday. You've had 8-2-1 since Wednesday. Right? They're really, unless somehow you're crazy busy both Wednesday and Thursday, there's really not much of a reason for these to not be done. So again, we are not copying answers right now. I shouldn't really see pencils moving. Highlighters are fine. Question D on 823 was really awkwardly worded. I need to remember to go back and change the wording next year. But on 823D, what it was really asking you to compare is the median. I think I might need to go back and read it again because it's awkwardly worded. So it's saying, use the box plot to estimate how many interquartile ranges above the median whose better hand is. Which hand is better here? In darts, do you want to be closer to the bullseye or farther away? You want to be closer. It's worth more points. So whose better hand is his left hand? So how many interquartile ranges above the median is Lou's better hand? Well, the interquartile range, I'm going to cheat and just kind of use my smartboard a little bit to show this. The interquartile range is this big. So if we compare that median, it's about 1, right? And that's literally their key answer is it's about 1 IQR. But it was really awkwardly worded, so I'm not even that worried, but if you don't have an answer on D, you can go ahead and put an answer on D right now. It's about 1 interquartile range difference. It's a little bit over, actually. So you could also say just over 1. For 24 and 25, those are pretty straight up answers. For C and D, please make sure you actually put the percentages after writing a percent value. And for 25, please make sure you put the dollar sign. I'll get that on my way back, because we need labels. No naked numbers. Inappropriate. No naked numbers. So just like that for 26, meters. Right? You need the label of meters. Now for meters, you can also just put M. Just M is meters. MI is what? Miles. MIN is minutes, right? So the M abbreviations, there's a lot of them. Owen?
I have a question about 825.
Okay.
Do you do anything after the I equals PRT formula?
Is it asking for balance or just interest?
It's asking for simple interest.
So, but Jacqueline agreed to lend his younger brother $45 to buy a new fish tank. 2% simple interest per month, 6 months, but then how much money will he get back?
Yeah, I got.
So you've got to get the 45 and the interest.
Oh, I forgot to add it.
Yeah, you got to. And some of you guys did that on the mastery. You forgot to actually do total balance. You gave me the interest. We need total balance. So, really, if he loaned 45, the interest made was $5.40. For number 27, you must have expressions and algebra shown. How we relate the ages of E is C minus 11, right? Because Eric is 11 years younger. Or Mark, M equals C plus 7. Excuse me, because we're comparing with Miss Chen. And then 28, just algebra, right? Inverse operations. You're doing those inverse operations. So adding to get rid of the negative, dividing to get rid of multiplication, group it up like terms, all that good jazz. 821 are sampling. Now, guys, it's okay if your answers weren't quite right. We're still new at this. But when we're talking about a representative sample, it needs to pretty much represent everyone in the population. If you got both genders, your sample needs both genders. If you got old and young, you need old and young, and you need everything that your population has. If you got dogs, cats, and lizards, your sample needs dogs, cats, and lizards. I feel like this shouldn't be sitting here, and I don't know why. It's just sitting on top of my cabinet thing. I don't know if you need to turn that in or what. But also the back doesn't look like it's done, so I wonder if you got a second copy of that. So, not representative, fairly representative, not possibly, and E is the best that they offer. Of the things there, E is the best option. Questions? Percent change, as some of us struggled with on the mastery. Change divided by original. Not the new price, the change divided by what we came from. Fractions, if you leave it as a mixed number, that's okay. Or sorry, if you leave it as improper, that's okay. But we want to practice being able to convert back and forth. So if you have impropers, let's practice trying to convert back to the mixed number if you want. Like, I mean, you should practice that. Eventually I'm going to make you, because I got to make sure you can. Labels! Units versus square units makes a huge difference. This rug would be talked about in square units. But my light strips that I think I have to replace because these ones up front are starting to kind of go bad, that would just be measured in units. How long is the light strip versus how much area does my carpet cover? So square units and units, very different. 39 seemed a little tricky for you guys. Guys, you don't have to understand how to deal with the absolute value of the whole algebraic, what we do. Because I'll tell you, if you go to graph absolute values, they make a V. It's kind of a cool, we'll get to graphing absolute values, but it's because everything has to be positive. So where your line would go negative, it actually bounces up and just goes back positive. It's really cool. But what we're talking about here is speeds you could drive to essentially be within 10 miles of the speed limit. So if the speed limit is 35, if you're driving 10 miles slower than that, what speed are you driving? And if you're driving 10 miles faster than the limit, 45. So your safe speeds, 25 to 45. You need to be within 10 miles an hour. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to get a ticket. If you're driving 45 and a 35, you're likely to get a ticket. Almost every single morning, there's a cop sitting in the parking lot of the church on Smoky Row, just trying to get people, because that's a 35, and people love to speed through there. And it's dangerous. The churches and schools and bus stops, and lions and tigers and bears, oh my. 40, it's just numbers. I think that was just more algebra, because we're trying to make sure that we're good at algebra now. All right, if those are done, turn them in. Wait,
I have a question.
there's a back to this. No, wait, what am I looking at? I'm looking at the wrong homework. My bad. What's up?
I feel like B is not negative 2.
Where did my 2-1 go? There it is.
I got negative 2.
For 40. So I would start by doing the distribution. So remember, with algebra, there's often multiple options. You could start by dividing, right? If you really don't want to deal with that too. I would start by doing the distribution. So first trapdoor. Did you get 2x minus 12 here? That's your first trapdoor. Then I would deal with variables. Do I want to minus the 2x or minus the 1x? I'm going to minus that 1x. And that'll leave me with 1x minus 12 over here equals negative 14. And then I'm going to add 12 to both sides. We would get negative 2. So you might just need to go back and check your algebra. Because what we did here was minus x. And then we would add 12. Did you accidentally get 26 or something?
No, I accidentally did the variables first, so it made it confusing.
because then I like added 14 to the.
I mean, you can. This is just the most straightforward way to get there. Other questions? If it's done, turn them in. I'm going to wait a minute because I really hope a lot of us are turning this in. 8, 3, 1.
Do you prefer if I put the graph paper on top or on the bottom?
On the back, really, because I like to be able to put my grade like on front so you can just see it when I hand it back to you.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. Appreciate that. Not really. Mastery, you can go either way, but because Masteries, I've already graded it. If you put your graph paper on the front, then I can put your new grade on the front right there. It's either way, really. Now, if you want, like, the longer answer, if you already have graph paper attached to your Mastery, and that's on the back from, like, the original time, it's better to put your revisions on the front, so it's just obviously separate. Yeah. Yeah, I was debating. If you are not in Desmos yet, and guys, please don't make me like catch you in Dino doing something you're not supposed to. If you're not in Desmos yet, go to Desmos. All right, sorry for those of you playing along at home. I couldn't show somebody else's video, and then I forgot to keep recording. All right, so full rotation, half rotation, quarter rotation. So wait, a 45? And actually, like, never mind. I won't confuse you guys talking about 45 records.
No,
Claire?
Wouldn't be an 8.
Yeah, it's like an eighth of a rotation. So when we come down here and estimate what sizes these are, I want you to take like a minute or two. And guys, we're estimating. This does not have to be perfect. We're estimating. If we know that a 360 is the full rotation, a 180 is the half rotation, we just talked about a 90. And guys, you could add a 90 up here if you wanted. A 90 would kind of point us like up. If we started with 0 going that way, 90 would point us up. But all right, take a moment with your teammate, decide, make an estimate for the angles that are noted with the arrows. Make an estimate. I gotta run across the hall real quick because I forgot to do something last class period. Claire's in charge. No, Claire and Laurel together. You'd be a good teaching team.
No, you think
They're just like right in front of me. Sorry. No, none of you guys are in charge. I'm just going across the hall real fast. Estimate the size of those angles. Guys, literally no one had landed that yet. Or at least, like, had it be recorded where, you know, people can actually say, yeah, no, he landed it. Because obviously you can say, like, yeah, I went to the skate park and I landed it. Who saw it, man? Where's the evidence, man? Do it again. Right? Oh, I can't do it again. It's really hard. Okay, yeah, I believe you. By the way, the Worthington Skate Park is pretty sweet. I don't know if any of you guys go use it, but
I used to go there all the time in the
Like, we had a skate park in my town, but it was like metal ramps just on a big concrete pad. Yeah, your guys' skate park is very cool. Has anyone gone to the bike park in the woods off the... A Phoenix alumni made that. Yeah, Kelly. How long are we in here? 34. Okay, I do still have some time. All right. Cora, what do you think about A? Hey guys, you're talking over your classmate. I like to reference a right angle because it's pretty easy to think about because most things in the world make right angles just because they look nice. So, Cora's estimating we've got 90 there plus some extra. So you said, how big are you thinking? Well, somebody throw the door shut, please. Or maybe the people in the hall could be quieter. Sure. Yeah, I love the 135. That sounds like a really good guess. Mick, what about B? Yeah, if we said 45 is an eighth of a rotation, we also know 45 is half of 90. So if this is 90, yeah, this would likely be 45. Or maybe a little smaller than 45. So if you said like 40 or so, like, guys, these don't have to be right. We're just practicing estimating. I'm using cards. Do you have a question? Yeah, sorry. This is why I use cards. I don't have to call on kids. I don't have to think. Ahmad, what about C?
180.
180, that straight angle we talked about. Guys, we gotta have degrees. Again, with no naked numbers, because I hate to break it to you, but degrees are not the only way we talk about angles. There's another labeling system called radians that you don't know yet, and you don't need to know yet, but there are other ways to measure angles. You taking these notes, or are you goofing around on your computer? Just asking to ask. D. Charlie, what are you thinking about D?
I'm not too sure, but I'd say probably like 15 or 20.
Yeah, pretty small, right? So probably like 15 or 20. By the way, just to like brag about my buddy, I have a friend who, I think I maybe talked about Chris a little bit, worked on a farm down in Bexley for a little while, which is like here in Columbus. He now, with the whole conflict that's going on and everything, he's decided and has gone. He's over in Jerusalem now, and he is helping harvest crops there because of everything going on. A lot of the farmers are doing other stuff. But just to bring up that I'm like really, really, like, I'm an advocate of farming and like us growing our own food and being able to be sustainable and everything. I'm so into farming, you might call me pro-tractor.
Oh my gosh, sir. Oh my God.
For real though, my buddy Chris is in Jerusalem helping harvest their fields. So, Maddie, what about 57A?
See, I wrote mine in fractions.
Yeah, that's not how we do it.
Exactly. So I would say like,
Now wait, give me the fraction you said.
well, 1/5.
Like a fifth of a rotation?
Yeah.
So sure, but we don't, like, we have close to a reference point up here.
Yeah.
But, so a fifth is close to a quarter, right? Which is close to 90 degrees
using
would be...
using A for 56 as like reference, I would say like 115, 120.
This is, we're talking about this angle right here.
Yeah.
Just the small one. I think you might be thinking about the... So this is an acute angle, right? We know it's acute, so it's less than 90. I'm willing to venture a guess. This might be the same as over here. Right? Doesn't this angle size look... This might be a tiny bit bigger.
So like 50.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, I mean, you guys don't have to have the same thing I wrote. Will, what do you think about part B?
I would say like, maybe like, I think it's slightly less than like 45. I would say like 35 or 40.
So I'm actually going to say it looks very similar to this one. But I'm going to start telling you guys some more stuff that we'll learn as we keep going through the year. In a triangle, if we add up all three angles, it's 180 degrees. So if we imagine that all three of these are equal to each other, because they kind of look like they're the same, what's 180 divided by 3?
60.
60. And then Ella, what are you thinking about for C? This obtuse angle down here. Yeah, 120 sounds like a pretty good guess. All right, in Desmos, and then I'll finish our Tony Hawk video. But in Desmos, and I knew we weren't going to have time to finish it today. I lost my Desmos screen. You can start doing this whenever you want. Well, like now, because we have 5 minutes left. But the activity, and it says 8.3.2 because it's actually for our lesson on Monday. And that's why I wanted to start it today and then finish it Monday. What we're going to do here is play with angle pairs. So I got to move that to make sure I don't show your guys' names. I'm going to anonymize it or actually just go to the thing. So we start with just like, all right, gut instinct of which one doesn't belong and then why. But then we start to have some of these like, well, yeah, and if I skip things, it makes me go back. But then we start to work with things together. So one new symbol that we want to have on our paper before we dive into working with angles, a right angle, a 90-degree angle, gets indicated with a little square in the corner. So a right angle that makes 90 degrees is indicated by a little square in the corner.
Why isn't it just when it goes the little curves like all the other angles?
Because it's the special notation for the fact that it's a right angle. It's like calling a square instead of calling it a rectangle. You know what I mean? A square is a rectangle. I could, so Ahmad, like, great question, because I could draw one of those. But by drawing this, I tell you it's 90 degrees. That's why we draw the square, is like that straight up tells you it's 90 degrees. So one of the first angle pairs is called complementary, and it is that word for multiple reasons. Complementary angles, it was just sitting over there, join up to make a 90. Emma, you're across the hall. So, when you want to make a 90-degree angle, you can do it a bunch of different ways. You could do like 10 degrees and what would add up to 90? 80. You could do 20 degrees and
60.
70.
Yeah, 70.
Careful. Or if you want it to look nice and symmetrical and match each other, what's 90 degrees cut in half?
45.
45. So when I'm in my shop making picture frames, I'm trying to get these angles as close to 45 degrees as possible, because if they're 46 and I put them together, guess what happens in my frame? It's not square. If they're 44 and I put them together, there's a gap between them, which is okay because you can fill it with sawdust and you can deal with the gap. You can't deal with the angle being too big. So the trick is, if you cut it a tiny bit shy, you can just fill the gap with sawdust or whatever. But then you still got to make sure that your angle is not getting smaller, so you got to glue the whole thing together to make it square, and then you deal with gaps or whatever. But complementary angles fit together to make the 90. The other type is supplementary, and the only real way I have to remember that is like what stuck in my head. Why do people take supplements?
To get stronger.
To get stronger. And when you get way too strong and you got way too many muscles, you might end up walking around like this with your arms. Supplementary angles add up to make 180. So if you look in your math notes, which I think I took my copy back here, you don't have to pull them out, but if you look in your math notes, it's got those two angle pairs in there of complementary angles add up to make the 90. Supplementary angles add up to make 180. Vertical angles, we'll talk more about Monday because I am unfortunately out of time. So we will pick the Desmos back up Monday. I know some of us probably didn't get to it at all. Hold on, I got to pause my video and then finish the other one.